All right, welcome into another episode of the Ryan and Goodman Podcast. I'm Jeff Goodman. He's Bob Ryan, and we're going to talk a little bit about some NBA stuff. We're going to talk some college stuff because there are some off-the-court things that happen in the college ranks that I would like to get your thoughts on, Robert. But first, I was on NBC Sports Boston last night, and I said something that I think is probably going to get some attention, maybe not for the better. I said that the Celtics should look at dealing Jaylen Brown. Okay? Now, hear me out. Hear me out before you jump on.
I haven't said a word. I haven't said a word yet.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate it because I think a lot of other people are going to jump all over me before hearing the entire story of what I'm saying and what I said last night, which was, is there a team out there, Bob, that feels that Jaylen Brown is or could be a franchise player? A franchise guy, a top 10 player in the NBA. If that is the case, why not look and see what you could get for him now? I'm not trading him for 75 cents on the dollar. I'm not trading him for anything less than another all-star and maybe more because he's 24 years old. But I would look to see what I could get only because I still do not think Jaylen Brown, Jayson, Tatum, and Kemba Walker are great together. I don't think they fit so well together because they are still at their core all scorers. So what I said was I would do a trade of Jaylen Brown for Bradley Beal. I would do that trade. I don't know where you stand with that, but Bradley Beal, now he's a scorer in Washington because he has to be. Okay, they got nothing else really for the most part. I know they got Westbrook now. And they had John Wall, who was hurt. But ultimately, Bradley Beal can be a ball mover also. He is a very good passer, a very good scorer, not as good defensively as Jaylen Brown, but still a good defender as well. And he's 27. It's not 24. Let's not make it look like 27 is over the hill here. He's in his prime.
That's prime. My first instinct is it's robbing Peter to pay Paul. You do that.
Yep.
And then who's your starting forward? Who moves up? What else?
Well, you go Kemba, Beal, Tatum is your four. You probably play small with Smart, and then
that's it.
Tatum's your. I mean, really.
And actually, I'm thinking of everything you said, and I
Smart can guard a three though. Marcus Smart can easily guard a three.
Oh yeah, I agree to that.
And Beal can, I just think Beal fits.
No, I love Marcus, but I don't want to put too much on him.
Yeah,
I like him because he's unique, and he is. And I don't want to hear about anybody else that's like him or anybody like him. But I like him in this hybrid role. I don't know.
I think he's got whether or not they have, regardless. I think you've got to have Marcus Smart on the court at the end of the games. Don't you? I mean, your best five players, when Marcus Smart comes back here, are clear. They're clear as day. Well, maybe not your best five, but your four guys are clear as day, which is obviously Tatum, Jaylen Brown.
Who's the so-called
right? I mean, everybody wants Robert Williams today, and I know you had a nice tweet about Robert Williams and Bill Russell in the same tweet.
Yeah, I mean, I wish Bill Russell would teach him the nuances of of how to take full advantage of this great ability. The question arose on Twitter, when's the last time the Celtics had anybody like Robert Williams? And the answer is they've never had anybody, in my experience, quite like Robert Williams. And that you have to go all the way back to Bill Russell, in a sense, and that Bill Russell remains. I know people, don't want to hear from the old farts. They don't want to hear from me. They don't want to hear from me because they can't. I know it's a hard concept. Well, by the way, we're rambling, but who cares? Yep. I know it's a hard concept for anybody today, anybody under 56, anybody to understand that some people are ahead of their time. Bill Russell was an athlete ahead of his time. He put the block shot into the game of basketball. He did it. One person did it. It started with Bill Russell. That's where they have to understand this, okay? And he did it because he was an extraordinary athlete with incredible timing, something that is unteachable, okay? Yeah, it's unteachable that his great and the things that made him Bill Russell ultimately are unteachable. He was innately smart. You can't make somebody smarter. He was the timing, the instinct, and the psychology. Anyway, he was the master of the block shot, unlike anyone that's ever lived. And I'm sorry. So then, if he could impart some of that wisdom into the most extraordinary physical being at that position the Celtics have ever had to do this, namely Robert Williams. People saw it about Robert Parrish. Robert Parrish, I don't remember seeing Robert Parrish do an alley-oop dunk ever. Wasn't his game. Now,
he could barely get up to dunk it at 7 feet.
But what he could do was run that floor.
He was elite level, but he wasn't a great vertical athlete. He was not a great vertical athlete.
Run that floor. And anyway, all right. So yeah, that's the thing about it. So
get back to Beal, Jaylen Brown. Get back to it. What's your thought?
Well, my goal is to keep everybody and add on. Am I just hopelessly foolish to think that somewhere out there, Danny can't find an instant offense guy to help come off the bench?
Yeah, I think he can find that. I do. I think in the buyout market, there'll be somebody. There will be somebody to me that can help. Again, JJ Redick and his $13 million. Now, the longer you wait, it's obviously less than that.
He had a 20-point game last night, by the way, after a while. But
I probably would take – I just think if you put JJ Redick on the second unit with Peyton Pritchard, it gives him a weapon. It gives you somebody that has respectability that you have to guard. And more – to me, it's also about like the veteran presence, a guy that's been around a long time that can help in that locker room with Tatum, with Jaylen Brown, and you can put him out in that first unit. You can put him out with those guys, and he's going to space the court. He's going to give those guys more space, Tatum and Jaylen Brown, so they can't just worry about them. And now Kemba obviously changes things. So I do think Redick would be a guy I would look at. I'm not sure if I would definitely do it. I haven't watched enough of JJ Redick throughout the season to know has he really fallen off the cliff or not. But New Orleans wants to go younger. They want to go younger. So they're not playing him as much. So maybe David Griffin would. The problem for the Celtics, honestly, is what do you have to trade? That's your problem.
No, I know. That's exactly the problem because unless you want to trade Smart, which I don't want to do.
I don't either.
But I mean, right? Well, we know what their assets are. Their tradable assets are Tatum, Brown, and Smart, and
there's nothing else though. I mean, honestly, like people are like, well, Robert Williams. Yeah, I mean, like maybe you could trade him, but is it worth it?
Might be infatuated with him, and and want to. But what would you get for him? But I'm just fascinated having a guy like that on this team for the first time in our memory. I want to develop this guy, but
well, I think he can make Kemba's job easier too, because Kemba can now throw some lobs to Robert Williams.
Yeah.
He's in the game. If you kind of get like, he's not a guy you're going to throw the ball down to on the post probably ever, but in this new age of kind of a rolling big man, he's perfect. Like who's better than Robert Williams? If you can figure that out, like he's better than Clint Capella at that. He's so athletic. He's so physically like gifted. To me, it's all about the mental makeup and whether Brad Stevens can trust him. But maybe Brad has just figured out, you know what? Listen, we're not going anywhere with the combo of Tyson and Tristan. They're nice. They both play hard as you know what, but ultimately they're capped out, right? They're capped out. Neither one can score at all.
Well, Tyson, I don't know. No, but they are what they are. They're NBA players. Yes, they're NBA guys. They belong on NBA rosters. They one or both of them could be in a rotation. At least 8, at least 9 for sure, maybe 8, and on a team that could win a championship, maybe. But it's not enough to propel the Celtics where they need to go.
No, it is not. That is not.
Well, you raise an interesting thing, and Beal, Beal's obviously at the peak of his game. He's leading the league in scoring. I mean, which certainly no one saw coming necessarily that he would be this good, and he really he's having a sensational year.
I love Beal. Not that I don't love Jaylen. I love Jaylen too. I just don't know if those three fit together to be able to win the East. That's my biggest concern. Now, I talked to two veteran players yesterday, NBA players that I trust that have played the Celtics, one multiple times. Another has played them in the last 2 weeks. And both kind of told me the same thing. They both said, listen, I would ride with what you got right now. Get Kemba back, which he is. Get Kemba healthy. Give him the All-Star break, and he's playing much better. Get Marcus Smart back. And then you've got a totally different team than you had early in the season when you had two guys, basically one player I talked to just said, like I told you 2 weeks ago, they can load up on those two. They know where those shots are coming from. And then when you had Tatum and Brown and one of them were off the floor, he said, it was so easy. It was so easy. You knew where all the shots were coming from. And the problem is then more is expected out of Tice. And it's not fair to Tice or Tristan Thompson. That's not them. And so both of them pretty much agreed, stick with what you have, add a piece. Now, one of them said, yeah, they go Redick. The other said they probably wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's the decision Danny might have. And maybe he just waits and sees, is there somebody else in the market? Another guy that I thought about, and I said this at the end of the show last night, he doesn't fit what they need on the court that much, but the team stinks. They're going to go younger, and he's in the last year of his deal, is PJ Tucker, Bob.
Oh, yeah.
I love him. In the locker room, on the court, toughness, all of it. Wouldn't you love to have PJ Tucker on this team for that reason?
Well, I know you said that, and I go, oh, that's an interesting one. I got on that bandwagon last year. Okay, yeah. Tucker took a while, but I did get on it, and I understand why you would say that, and it would be intriguing, and he needs to get out of there.
Right, and they need him out of there. Like he's not happy. He shouldn't be. He's all about winning. Right, he's all about winning. So to me, again, I think the consensus right now. And the other thing I asked the players was about Brad Stevens. And I said, what would you do? I said, there's a lot of people here right now that want Brad Stevens out. Now, they've won 3 in a row, so it's quieted down for the moment. But I said, there's a lot of people in Boston that want him gone. And they both were like, are you out of your mind? Like, you're not getting anybody better. They said, unless he's lost the locker room completely, mm-hmm. You're crazy. Because both of them said he is a great coach. And the only thing, one of them kind of said to me, like, are these guys watching them play? Are they all about kind of me next? Is that the problem with this team right now, especially when Kemba was first coming back? So, they were worried about the makeup of the locker room a little bit, but it was hard. They said, like, without being in the locker room, it's just hard to know.
I would like, what do we know? We don't know. I find that hard to believe. That would be a real disappointment to me if that ever took place, ever. And if that's would be the cause of a problem that Brad Stevens would have any kind of a circumstance where he would, quote, lose the locker room. But hey, I don't know. But I mean, I would be really, really bummed out if that were the case. I find that hard to believe that's going to ever be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he'll lose the locker room. I just think Brad is what he is. He's not going to change who he is. He's not going to all of a sudden come in yelling and screaming and swearing at guys. That's not him. So, like, I think he earned their respect enough over the years by what he's done, overachieving as a coach. And now it's just like, all right, are these guys bought in? And I don't know how they can't be. Because, again, it's not like if you're Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown, the entire offense is designed around you. The entire offense. So you can't complain if you're one of those guys, and everybody else in the team isn't good enough to complain. So I don't know what anybody's kind of complaining about here. With Kemba being back, again, I just think the key is you got Kemba back. He's playing well finally. And now you got to add Marcus Smart coming out of the break. And then you see. But listen, your top 3, Bob, your top 3 are probably as good as any top 3 that doesn't reside in Brooklyn in the East.
Yeah, well, see, I didn't want to go full panic mode when it was going bad, simply because you said, let's get back the team whole. Right. And it hasn't been, and all year, because it started out without a real Kemba, and then it's been a month without Smart.
Yeah.
And so, let's get the whole thing put together and see what we got.
I thought I saw somewhere they played like 28 minutes, the four of them, all year.
Yeah,
all year.
It wouldn't shock me.
Right.
So, that's
what are we doing here? We're
just like, I don't want to overreact to that anymore than I want to overreact to 3 in a row, including with teams that are depleted themselves.
Yes.
So I know that. I mean, you get the lucky break of playing the Clippers without Kawhi,
right,
and then you got to go down to the last second. Let's not get crazy here. About what they've accomplished, and they stopped the bleeding. Yes, and I'll go, and that's okay with me. That's And now they stopped the bleeding, but I'm not all excited that they've actually become a juggernaut. No,
I know what you are excited about. Thursday night at 8:00. I know you are excited. You're going to be sitting by your television watching the NBA All-Star Game draft, Bob. It's riveting stuff.
The All-Star Game, it's finally coming, and they're going to have it come hell or high water. And even though the mayor of Atlanta doesn't want them in their city, and we all know it's all about dollars, and now they've cloaked it in charity because they're involving the HBCUs who are going to come away with a lot of money, which is nice. I'm very happy about that.
Yep.
It's fine, and that gives them a sense of civic responsibility, if you will. But the fact of the matter is that there's no real there was no one really was excited about having this game. The players didn't want to play. LeBron was hardly alone in saying it. And they would, and under normal circumstances, they would love to have an all-star experience. And there are players who are involved who are going to get this most out of as much out of it as they can. I know that Jaylen Brown is still excited about the honor of being involved. I know that Julius Randle is very excited about the honor
Zach
of being involved. And Zach LaVine, who's having a quietly sneaky, amazing season that nobody outside of Chicago seems to realize. And I appreciate all that. But, don't get me started on how the game itself is, that they've had to trick it up just to get interest. It shouldn't. I don't know what mentality allowed us to get where we are. Okay. How did we get where we are? I know where we are.
Yeah.
But I don't know how we got here. How did we deteriorate so much to trash this NBA All-Star Game that they turn it, it so deteriorated into a alley-oop-a-palooza.
It's unwatchable.
It's
unwatchable, Bob.
Unwatchable to anyone who actually likes basketball, real basketball.
It's one. It's and one. That's what it is.
Stopped watching it, and then last year, of course, they tricked it up, and actually, there was a novelty interest involved.
Yep.
And I'm going to be honest. I have a professional reason why I'm going to have to sit there Sunday night and torture myself and watch the whole damn thing, including the slam dunk contest, which should have been abandoned after Spud Webb won it in 1986. So, when a 5'6" guy wins it, I don't want to hear about it. If I'm being this, I've been saying this there should be a height limit on the dunk contest. 6'6".
You have to be.
I'm very serious. 6'6". Who cares? If a 6'9" guy, I remember when Larry Nance won it, and I predicted he would that year, and he was 6'9", and that's the first time someone that tall had won it and was going to win it. And then do I care if 7-footers can dunk?
No.
No. What is the point?
Right.
I care if Spud Webb could dunk. That got my attention.
Yeah.
But anyway, there should be a 6'6" limit.
Yeah, you're probably right. 6'6", 6'7".
I mean, who cares? It's not ridiculous. A 6'10", 11.
All right, so I'm going to give you the list of names, and you're going to tell me if you were LeBron. I think LeBron might have the first pick. I'm not sure if KD or LeBron do, but if you are LeBron, who are you taking number one? If I'm going to give you all the choices, who is the guy you're taking?
Okay,
number one. Jaylen Brown, James Harden, Zach LaVine, Julius Randle, your boy Sabonis, Ben Simmons, Vucevic, Devin Booker, Paul George, Rudy Gobert, Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Chris Paul, Zion Williamson.
Look, I'd be I don't want, like the guy, I'd be totally intellectually dishonest if I were to say that the honor of being the first guy picked isn't James Harden. So, I mean, he's been the best player in the league this year.
Yeah, I think you're right.
As much as it kills me, and I don't like anything about him, but he has produced at a phenomenal rate since his manner of exit from Houston was disgraceful. Okay, and if you want to judge him strictly on that, don't take him.
Those were the reserves. Those were the reserves that I read off.
I know. And
the starters are pretty good. Listen, I mean, Bradley Beal, starter.
Yep.
Joel Embiid might be the damn MVP of the league right now.
Oh, he's certainly high in the discussion.
He has been not that we worried, obviously, physically. You look at somebody. Do you like Kendrick Perkins has been comparing him a lot to Hakeem?
Well, it's obvious comparison, a tall fellow who was born and raised in the continent of Africa. Yeah. But by the way, Hakeem was his model, I'm told. He wanted to model himself after. Hakeem remains the greatest player ever born outside the United States of America, in my opinion, to play in the NBA. Dirk Nowitzki is second, but he's number one, Hakeem. And he's an extraordinary player. He was noted for certain. I won't put him on. No, I can't put him on that level yet. No, but he's still got time to show us.
He's been healthy. That's the greatest part of this. Bob.
Remember this his path.
I was worried.
He's kind of been put.
Yeah. He
sat out 2 years.
Right.
Able to play, and in the third year played 31 games.
Amazing.
After being drafted as the third pick of the 2014 draft, he sat out the next 2 years, and then played 31 games. So he's just getting it all together, frankly, in his career. It's a goal. He's not Elijah Wan, and he may never be Elijah Wan, but boy, I'll tell you what, it's fair to say if there's going to be a next Elijah Wan, it may very well be Joel Embiid.
I mean, he's averaging 30 and 11.6 right now.
30 and 12. Averaged 40 and 19 on Wednesday night against the Jazz, against Rudy Gobert, which he took as a personal challenge, right?
Yes.
That was a big personal challenge.
I'm saying, like, Joel is just like when he wants to. When he wants to.
That one play he just knocked Gobert the next week and got away with it.
Oh, that was great. He's so talented and so skilled. And I remember the crazy part was in AAU ball, he didn't even get off the bench. He didn't play. He was buried behind a kid named Chris Walker, who ended up going some McDonald's All-American, who went to Florida and never made it. He's in like the G League.
I vaguely remember the name.
Yeah, Joel didn't. And Rick Pitino, your guy, was the first one to tell me he would be the number one overall pick before he ever played a game at Kansas. He told me that maybe before his freshman year, because they recruited him a little bit. And he would have been the number one pick if he hadn't got hurt at Kansas. I mean, it was clear as day.
I did a little research on him, and Wikipedia research that his original goal was to be a professional volleyball player in Europe. And then he was at a camp, and Luke Mbah Amute.
The M is silent. He
comes in, and of course he's a fellow Cameroonian, and says, "Young man, you are very tall. I think I have a game for you."
Yeah, it worked. He's making a lot of money playing that game, and he may get an MVP award this year if your boy Doc Rivers can keep them together. Which, again, when Doc was hired, the one thing you and I both said was, if there's anybody that can figure out the dynamic of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and whatever other personalities are involved in that locker room, it is absolutely Doc Rivers.
Yeah. So absolutely. I'm sorry about that. Well, I'm happy for Doc, obviously, you know that. And so we'll see how this all works out, but he certainly has to be enjoying what he's seeing every night with that.
No question. All right, we're going to get to a couple college topics.
Yes.
Your thoughts on both of these. We'll start with Greg McDermott, who I've known for 20 years, Creighton head coach, who made his way into the news this week because after a loss to Xavier, he was talking to his team, and he's a pretty mellow guy. I mean, really mellow guy. And he basically said something, I'm paraphrasing, but if you're not on the plantation, get off the plantation.
Yeah. You use the word.
Awful choice of words. Awful. He knows it. Trust me, I've talked to enough people close to him. And including his son, Doug McDermott, who I've known forever and is one of my favorite people I've ever met doing this. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, listen, he knows he screwed up. And in this day and age, if you screw up, you're listen, you're going to feel it, and rightfully so. And the team decided, he basically said, I'll resign if you guys want me to resign. They said no.
Yeah.
They wanted him to coach last night against Villanova. They want him to coach the rest of the season. As of now, things can change. Players didn't come out publicly and support him. That's the one area they haven't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't done anything. They played the game, and then the one player who went up after the game, Damian Jefferson, when he was asked to comment about it, he said, I'm not talking about it at all. I'm just talking about the game.
Everyone of a certain age needs to, has been placed on notice that certain casual references that had no harm and had different resonance years ago are no longer available to you. Okay. This is what happened here. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know that there's no priors that I know of. I don't believe that he's got the reputation. This isn't like the other coach in the Midwest earlier this season who had priors, who had a track record,
right?
But not this guy. Hey, there with the grace of God, go I kind of thing. As you know, I'm going up to 18 years ago. I had a verbal gap on local television. Wound up getting me suspended for an entire month.
Really?
By the Boston Globe, and it was a hyperbolic remark, and that's all it was, and it was that. But I paid a price. Obviously, this is long. It had to do something long before Me Too, and now after Me Too, nothing's close to that is possible. Anyway, so I know what it's like to make an honest, stupid mistake and then pay a price. That was 18 years ago. And, but this whole thing about plantation, I'm going to throw it. What if he had said reservation?
I think that's what, talking to people close to him, I think that's what he meant to say, Bob. And I still think that's egregious.
No, it's not. I don't think it's egregious. I think it's unacceptable.
Okay, that's fine.
That phrase, off the reservation, if you use it that way, he went off the reservation. That has been in the lexicon of American for my life.
Yeah.
All right. And people have casually used it in many contexts about somebody went deviated from the script. Now it means exactly the same as off script.
Right.
It's not what it means. Off the reservation. Well, except that I'm sure that the Native American community would object.
Correct.
So 25 years ago, they wouldn't, maybe because they didn't feel they felt not empowered. They felt disenfranchised. Right. And they
no, I think you're right. I think he probably did mean off the reservation. Instead, he said off the plantation. And again, listen, we'll see kind of how this plays out. Again, all I can speak to is my experiences with Greg McDermott and that family. I've never seen anything racist out of anybody in that family.
I find it just, look, I don't know him either. But I find it so hard to believe that occurred to him at the time. It was just a phrase that he was used to using that people knows what it meant, that you got to stay home. We got to stay together. We got to stay back home, right. And he chose a loaded word that has terrible connotations. And I hope he doesn't pay an ultimate price. That's all. I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, listen, if I was kind of surprised a little bit he coached last night. I thought maybe he would be suspended or suspend himself for last night's game. He did not. All right, the last one I want to talk about. It's one kind of dear to my heart. Jim Boeheim took a shot at a reporter's question last night in the postgame. They won. They won the game. They beat Clemson. Great win for Syracuse. They're back on the right side of the bubble, I think. And one of their reporters, Matthew Gutierrez, who is a Syracuse alum now working for The Athletic, asked him a question about a couple players. And I don't even remember the context of the question. But basically, Boeheim said after that, here I'm quoting, "But if I played Jesse and Kadari, we'd probably be 22-2 now." Sarcastically. I just didn't see that. Couldn't figure it out by myself after 45 years. I need a reporter to figure that out who has never played basketball and is 5'2".
It's cringeworthy, Jim. Those of us who want to like you,
right?
Okay, which I do. I've had enough encounters with him over the years.
Yep.
That I've seen him away from the fray. I've
Right.
had a beer with him.
Yep.
And I, no problem. But this is utterly unacceptable. And here's the thing about it. He went way out of his way. This is the result of a tweet that Mr. Gutierrez put out some while back, saying that he thought that he wasn't using those two guys in question enough, and they at that point I think he said we'd be 17-5. I believe that's the phrase at that point in time. Okay, I mean not the phrase. I think those are the numbers. Okay, so he tweeted it. Jim Boeheim had another question was the SID or the woman that was whoever was conducting the press conference was ready to acknowledge a question from another reporter. You could hear the voice on the tape, and then Boeheim suddenly jumped back in to gratuitously introduce this other line of discussion going after Matthew Gutierrez for the tweet.
Yep. Now,
a couple of things. That's before we get to the worst thing, but I'll start with on a degree of difficulty. In 45 years, he's never known what anyone would like just question a strategy or a judgment. And by the way, after 45 years, shouldn't you be willing to,
except you're wrong at times.
Roll off your back, A.
Right.
Then when you go a height joke, a height reference,
for what?
What gratuitous
shot.
Now, I don't know if there's any history between the two, and you said he went to Syracuse. Maybe the history goes back to when he was an undergraduate. I don't know. Who knows? But there shouldn't be any history. There shouldn't come to fore. He went out of his way to make a totally snide remark that degrades him and makes it hard, for somebody like me to now defend him harder than it would have been if he had never done that. There's no excuse for it. None. And if I'm a superior, I think his AD, well, it's not going to happen because he rules, we know he's the most important figure in the history of the school, right? Frankly,
you know who his AD is, right? You know who his AD is.
Who it is now? I forget who it is now.
My former boss at ESPN, John Wildhack.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Good guy. Really, really good guy. So he's not gonna suspend or even probably call Jim Boeheim in his office.
No, Jim
slap
Boeheim
him on the wrist.
No, he said, but be careful, Jim. I'll give you one example. You can go too far. Joe Paterno. Just remember that as the motto about a fall from grace that was unimaginable at an institution of higher learning. So don't get too cocky, Jim. But that was unacceptable. But he'll pay no price for this, other than a loss of respect from to some degree from people.
Do you remember the comment he made? It was 2013 when he told reporters to go get your Pulitzer somewhere else. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
It was at Marquette. And that was directed at me and Michael Cohen at the time a Syracuse student newspaper reporter. So Michael Cohen had hit him with a question about maybe playing, I think it was DeJuan Coleman, putting in DeJuan Coleman against Marquette had a big boy named Devontae Gardner. Okay, big, plotting kind of big man. And I think he asked him, and that started to piss Boeheim off a little bit. Then I followed up with a question about leadership. Well, that didn't go over well. That didn't go over well. So he basically then went at both of us, and it ended with, "You guys can go get your Pulitzer somewhere else." I laughed. Listen, we've been in this long enough to know, it is what it is. You got to let it roll off you for the most part. It's a personal attack. If somebody makes a personal attack at me or my family, it's different. But anything you say about me, I don't care for the most part. I thought it was funny. And Jim and I had a pretty good relationship up until that point. Yeah. And we've had one since. He called me the next day, Bob. He called me the next day to apologize.
Oh, really? See, that's a side that you want to see. Now, I don't know how he's going to, what he has any plans to even acknowledge what he did last night. It's going to get some play. We're talking about it. Right. It's all over Twitter.
Absolutely.
For anybody. So we'll see what happens. But it was degraded. Come on, Jim. You don't need to do that. Particularly when he's coming off. The thing is, he was praising, saying, it's hard to win in this league. It's 9-7. The kids are doing a great job.
Exactly.
He had a nice high level
right.
tone, and
he
then
likes drama.
Had no, and another question's coming, and he has to. Oh, wait a minute! I'm going to put on my nasty hat now.
He likes drama. Is I think part of it is for what ultimately. So, anything else? You got anything else?
No, I'm just I'm a little just in terms of competition. I had just decided that the Big Two in college basketball was a Big Three, and suddenly Michigan got humbled.
Yeah, they sure
I don't know
did.
what happened in that game, but they got humbled.
Yeah, without Illinois' best player and a National Player of the Year candidate.
Is playing? I like Illinois. I've been trying to preach the gospel to people, as you probably know, on Twitter about how loaded the Big Ten is, how much fun some of these teams are. Really, the Big Ten. I love watching Big Ten. These teams play this year.
What you got to watch today? I got one for you today. Have you seen? You should, and if you haven't, you need to, because of your buddy and former boss Joe Sullivan. Have you watched St. Joe's? Have you watched Ryan Daly ever?
No, but I know they're playing shortly against UMass.
1 o'clock. You have to watch at least watch 20 minutes of it. Okay. Ryan Daly might be top 5 favorite players in the country for me. I saw him last year at Charleston. He's 6'4.5". Even he will say he looks like he should be playing in the YMCA. He just doesn't look the part. He is a terrific player. He missed 2 months this year with a broken thumb and came back when, honestly, he had told me early in the year, he's like, I'm probably done. At this point, they were 0-10 in the league. They were horrible. He wasn't going to come back. He comes back, and they've won, I believe they're 3-0 or 4-0 since he came back. So they got UMass today and a matinee. So you need to watch Ryan Daly.
All right. Okay. That's a deal. I can work that into my schedule.
And next week will be my last show from my abode, and then I will be the one after that. I will be in Indianapolis at the Residence Inn in downtown Indianapolis. So yeah, all right. Anyway, everybody, join us next week. Thanks for joining us this week on the Ryan and Goodman podcast. We'll be back next week. Make sure you subscribe to the pod wherever you listen to your pods, iTunes, Stitcher, whatever, and CLNS Media. Make sure you follow us on there as well.